It was a little confusing to me. I think part of it was about why we were willing to go above maintenance of effort. And I think one of the reasons is when you look at where Talbot County stands in the state, our students are funded less than any other school system by over $2,000 per student. In order for the county to even come in average, in the midpoint, in the entire state in school funding, we would have to literally add $9 million to the school board's budget. And that's just to put us in the middle of the pack, not even to put us at the top. There's absolutely no way we can do that. As we've referred to before, the school funding formula from the state is really out of whack. It's very convoluted and it penalizes Talbot County. We get less dollars per student than any other county in the state from the state. The county last year was the number 5 highest county in the state in per pupil funding, and we still are way below at the very bottom of the pack of any other county. And to me, it's unfair for us to penalize our students because the state penalizes them. We've got to take the upper road. We've got to say the state formula is wrong. We've got to fight that battle in Annapolis. But in the meantime, we can and shouldn't deprive our children of a better education than they're getting. And like it or not, they need more money to have that education. The reports that have come out recently about how to improve schools, just the United States school system is in the middle of the pack of all industrialized nations. We're no longer at the top of, by any means. And in this country, Maryland's in the middle of the pack. So is that really what we want for our kids? We want them in the middle of the middle? One of the biggest things that has been shown is the sooner you get to these children, the sooner you provide them with education, whether it be pre-K and having a sufficient number of elementary school students, it enhances their ability to learn in later years. So that's the reason we did what we did.
I guess if the question is regarding the budget and why I supported the increase, I'm a product of public education. My kids are a product of public education. 2 of our 3 children went to school and graduated here in Talbot County. And I felt that the school system, their budget that they presented to the county council was a real needs budget. It wasn't based on things that they were adding in. I think their request came in around $41 million and some change. We ended up somewhere around $40 million, 0.6. So we're about 97.3, Mary, somewhere in that neighborhood, to a fully funding the budget. So we didn't fully fund the budget, but we did put money back into the budget through 3 sources. One is the non-reoccurring $832,000 into what's called a non-reoccurring payment, which means that that payment does not show back up in your maintenance of effort for FY19. The state did approve that. The second, there was a 0.5% increase onto the education supplement, which brings in another $323,000. And the third was a draft from our capital fund of $975,000 to give you a total of $1.9967 thousand going towards the school. So not quite fully funding the school, but getting the school the additional funds that they needed to keep the programming in place, to keep the teachers in place, to keep the buildings maintenance. So yes, I felt that it was time, as Ms. Williams just eloquently explained to you, the funding formula that the state has in place penalizing Talbot County for the wealth that we have in the ground. Not the wealth that we have in our pocket, but the wealth that we have in the ground. So we can't change that funding formula. We can jump up and down and scream and yell about it, but we have not been successful in changing that. So it is our responsibility as your elected officials to take care of our schools and our students as best we possibly can. So that's why I made the decision, that's why I was part of the decision that was made to increase the funding.
Yeah, I was part of the decision too, to support the schools too. Yeah, like it was a tough one when you're dealing with that maintenance effort, because once you do that, everybody understands you got to do that every year. So that's really the tough thing and psychological thing, that you have to look out for the things in the future for the county because we have so many capital projects going on for the next 10 years. So we got a new sheriff's department. We're going to have to do we got a new health department. But at the end of the day, I think, like Mr. Pack was saying, when it comes to the teachers, I think it's our responsibility as county council to take care of these schools. So I was for it. I hope that everybody was okay with it. But it's very, very hard to make all these decisions up here because you've got two parties, and just like Mrs. Williams said in one of our open speeches, you have to come together and you have to work together. And a lot of times, you try to do the best you can to balance it all out. So that's what.
So it was a twofold question, and I answered on the property tax revenue cap and not on the schools. So if I could answer the questions about the funding of the schools, I'd appreciate it, if that's okay. Our original proposed budget was $1.7 million more than last year above maintenance of effort. We also had $800,000 in the non-recurring. The interesting thing is that was $500,000 that was in their operating, the things like the laptops and technology, that was pulled out of their operating and put in non-recurring. And let's be honest, those laptops are coming back every year. So they actually, in my mind, had $2.2 million extra in their operating with the budget as proposed. And when we got to that final vote, and it's not 0.5%, it was 2.5 cents, because we had, the budget as proposed was a 2-cent educational supplement, which equates to 4% increase in your property tax on top of what we had already done, and then another 0.5 penny. So you're getting 2.5-cent educational supplement. But the big problem, the thing that I really had a problem with, was pulling money out of the down payment for the $50 million school. Talbot County's on the hook for over $30 million. We had all agreed in advance that we were going to put $5 million down on that school to save us $400,000 a year in interest. And the major problem I had, and by the end of the day, I was up to $2.9 million more than last year. And coming out of the capital fund, coming out of the down payment, I think was the wrong way to do it. I will fight like heck next year to put that $800,000 back to fully fund our $5 million down payment on the school, because it's very expensive. Thanks for letting me answer that.
Long question. As a resident of a community that